Hello everyone and welcome to the Blackdaisies channel. I'm Mela and today we're going to run through a speed build in The Sims 4. If we've just met, first of all, hello, how are ya? I like making videos about my art, Sims, and occasionally Animal Crossing, so if you're into any of those, that's what I do. And today I'm about making a restaurant. If you've seen my last video, I introduced you to my Sims. During the playthrough, I realized it was Love Day and I actually haven't sent my Sims on a date in a very long time. So I wanted to build a nice romantic restaurant. The only restaurant in Brindleton Bay, which is actually where they live, is a casual seafood diner in Whiskerman's Wharf, and as pretty as it is, it's more like a family restaurant, so it wasn't quite what I was looking for these two. It is September as I'm building this, and it's gotten cooler outside, in real life that is, and I'm getting the sense that fall is coming, which is nice but strange because we're still in the pandemic here, and to be honest, I haven't really been outside in quite some time. And spring and summer seem to have completely passed us by here, so I'm sure there may be a lot of people out there that feel the same way. But this year has been really interesting. And when I say interesting, I mean, it's been a whole lot of interesting. Anyway, where I am, things are opening up, and while we're still not comfortable with doing our usual things, such as going out for brunch, which is a thing I totally miss, we've been going outside and enjoying the fresh air and the sunshine. I've been feeling autumn coming in, and it's honestly pretty nice. Summer was never my favorite season anyway. But anyway, I wanted to create a restaurant that celebrates the arrival of autumn. I wanted to create a restaurant that my Sims could go to for a nice brunch, or even a romantic but casual dinner. And I wanted to build a restaurant because the plain and simple truth of the matter is I miss brunch, and I'm going to live vicariously through my Sims this time. My Sims generally live their own lives, but this time it's all about wish fulfillment here. I actually have a few restaurants in my active game right now. I did make a list. I have 2 in Willow Creek, I have 2 in Oasis Springs, and one of them is a fast food restaurant, the other one is a diner. There's 1 in Newcrest, there's 1 in Magnolia Promenade, 2 in Windenburg, I have 0 in San Myshuno, which actually surprises me, but there's actually a lot of food festivals there, so that makes up for it. I have 1 in small restaurant in Del Sol Valley. I wish I could have more, but there's not enough lot space. But that's a thing. That's a whole other thing. I have 1 so far in Brindleton Bay, and that's pretty much it. At least for my active world right now, where I play my main gameplay, that is. It is a lot of restaurants. It tells you that my favorite lot to build is in fact restaurants, and that's not a surprise. I like sending my Sims to restaurants. It's one of my favorite things to do off their home lot. In fact, I love commercial spaces. I don't play with very many Sims, and when I do, I like having them explore the neighborhoods. So whenever I build up a neighborhood, I try to have at least a couple of community lots for Sims to hang out on. I know that they could visit residential lots, but it really isn't the same, and if they don't know the owner of the lot, it just comes off as rude and maybe a bit creepy. And you can see here, I'm starting to furnish. So I kind of went back and forth on what kind of tables I wanted to use in this restaurant, because we have a number of tables that would suit it. They do look like they have the reclaimed farmhouse boards, but I think for a restaurant like this, I think they would use tablecloths. I know that's a small weird thing, and as you can see, I am now starting to add some decorations from the nifty knitting pack. And chairs are kind of a big deal. Chairs kind of make the feel of a restaurant, in my opinion, so it's kind of important to choose the correct chairs and table combination for whatever the mood restaurant you wanted to. But I didn't want it to be very matchy. I didn't also want it to be all mismatched too, because that is a style as well, the eclectic style. I did want it to be an eclectic kind of style for the restaurant, but I also wanted it to have some cohesive feel to it. So maybe that's why I went with the choices I did when decorating. All in all, I think it matches. I think it works well. In any case, I love sending my Sims to restaurants in particular. It just helps build up their conversation. It's a realistic thing to do. Some people eat out more than others. I like watching them have conversations and trying out the food. I like putting all the menus together. That's actually kind of fun too. I know the restaurants have a tendency to be a bit buggy sometimes, which is unfortunate, but when they work, it's pretty fun. You could probably see at this point the general structure of the building. I actually haven't been building in quite some time. When I am in the game, I'm renovating old builds because I'm supposed to be working on a save file, which is still coming along. It's just really, really slow, and it doesn't help that the sim gurus keep adding more content. That's kind of a good problem to have. So in addition to trying to create a mood for this place, I still wanted it to be a fairly easy build, nothing too spectacular. And I'm hoping that the decorating will actually do most of the heavy lifting. And speaking of things to do, you can see at this point I'm kind of decorating the inside of the restaurant, or the interior. The latest pack that has been released is the Nifty Knitting Pack, which is the community voted pack from earlier this year in 2020. The community voted for an arts and crafts pack, and eventually that was whittled down to a knitting pack by vote, which introduced a knitting hobby to our game, and it also gave us a number of clothes, hair, and some build items. Build buy items, that is. Now, I don't believe the pack was ever meant to be a builder's pack like some packs are. There were some windows in the voting process. For some reason, the windows were not voted on. We have one door, which I did not include in this build because it didn't make sense. But I like the windows that they had there. I wish people voted on it, but unfortunately, it was not to be. That's fine though. However, I just wanted to see if I could incorporate a lot of the other stuff in the Nifty Knitting pack for this restaurant. And I mainly wanted to use the rocking chairs. I didn't think the rocking chairs would be too out of place in a build like this. I'm sure if you wanted to, you could bring your knitting group here and rent out the upper floor. I had a small crew of colleagues we'd knit or craft with, and it was kind of fun learning techniques and seeing what everyone else was making. We'd take over a corner of the cafeteria or go to a cafe and just hang out and knit, and I imagined that this place could accommodate that. I'll be completely honest though, at this point I literally have not tried any of the knitting gameplay, so I have yet to see if that could work for this build. So, hopefully I'll be able to get into it, and maybe I'll take my Sims here as a group and see if they'll knit while they eat. Who knows if that's a thing. This type of restaurant I could totally see on a cottagecore Pinterest or Simterest. Cottagecore is a new word. I'm not sure how I feel about that word yet, but it's a thing. Basically, it uses a lot of the game's cottagey and DIY objects. I wanted to use reclaimed or recycled materials a lot, such as the jar lights from the Parenthood pack, autumn wreaths from Seasons, and the dried herbs from the laundry pack. I like the various recycled materials for planters and wall decor. There were a lot of those that were included in the Eco Lifestyle pack. And of course, Seasons has a whole bunch of seasonal items, so making this a fall-themed restaurant, I at least have all the candles and the floral swags, or the leaf swags rather. And it was fun finally being able to use that. I don't think I use a lot of the seasonal floral stuff in any of my builds too much, at least. I'm not gonna lie, I wish there were more macrame type wall hangings, which I think would suit a knitting pack nicely. But the planters are nice. They're a really, really nice addition. I always feel like we could use more plants and planters, that kind of thing too. So, there's a lot of things I actually wish for that, we may or may not get. So I'm not mad. I think I could have showcased this stuff pack by building something else more suited to it, like maybe a shop or even just a simple residential house. But I built a restaurant. Maybe the reason I went with this, as I said before, is I miss going out to eat. And this is the sim building version of stepping out on a Sunday with my partner and heading over to our favorite brunch spot and enjoying Belgian waffles with maple syrup, which is one of my favorite brunch dishes. I also like good pancakes, and you'd be surprised how many bad pancakes there are out there. But yeah, if you have good pancakes at your restaurant, I'm there. And maybe some eggs Florentine, which I don't actually believe is in The Sims as a menu item. The inspiration for this build, it started with autumn-themed photos of old grist mills, barns, farmhouses, and covered bridges, which are iconic of the American and Canadian Northeast. And I think that inspired Brindleton Bay, actually. In fact, you'll see that there's a covered bridge right here. I really appreciated this little touch in the scenery. I think it was neat to see that. If you're familiar with my builds, you know I love all sorts of historical architecture. So I think something like this was fitting for this neighborhood. I'm also kind of inspired by that one restaurant, that's outside of the city, maybe even cottage country, that gets discovered somehow, and all of a sudden it gets inundated by young millennials that rent a car over the weekend and travel a few hours to get to that perfect brunch spot before everybody else, to the delight or maybe even the annoyance of the locals. I think you know that brunch spot I'm talking about. Maybe you visited a few times in the past too. All it takes is some pics of the tables made from reclaimed farmhouse boards and the well-plated home-style meals. A decent influencer, and all of a sudden the place becomes famous. And that's what I want out of this restaurant. However, I'm gonna switch track here on that note. Let me remind everyone that I'm still building this in the middle of a pandemic, and it's not a good idea to go traveling to smaller towns for brunch. So let me get on my soapbox a bit. It's kind of tempting to leave the city when it gets bad to go somewhere where it may be less crowded. And believe me, your neighborhood and everyone else probably had that same idea to escape. And they're probably all going to the same place as you. I'm kidding, but you know what I mean. Smaller towns may not necessarily need an influx of strangers and tourists who may or may not possibly bring in the virus. Let me remind you that this virus is coming in from people who've been traveling, and that's true locally. I just wanted everyone to be safe and healthy, and in the greater scheme of things, it's a small problem of mine to complain about not being able to go out for food. And I get that we can't stay cooped up forever, believe me. I am building this restaurant because I can't go to restaurants. And I know people's health and their economic well-being is being affected by this. Believe me, I really get that. I just kind of want everybody to be safe. So do your best, maintain physical distancing, wear a mask. If you don't feel well, maybe it's a good idea to stay home. Monitor yourself and get better. If we could get this virus under control, maybe we can all just be safe and have a worry-free brunch again. I'm going into that away a little bit too much, but it's been a bit. It's been a while since since early lockdown. So it'd be nice to not have these worries anymore. Anyway, I really didn't mean to get into this too deeply. I'm sure you guys will all be safe and you'll understand when a situation is good or bad. And like I said, hopefully you will just get over this pandemic and maybe life will return to normal one day. In the meantime, we try to make the best of our situations. Hopefully we are doing our best for everybody out there too. So even if it's just some simple things like making brunch at home, which is nice. I've learned how to make decent pancakes too. My favorite pancakes are actually a vegan pancake made with coconut milk. It's yummy. It is so yummy. And surprisingly, good pancakes are easy to make. Yeah, I've become an expert at pancake making at home. Yeah, I don't miss at least I don't miss pancakes. Belgian waffles, on the other hand, are a different story. Anyway, it's a Sims build video, and Sims never have to worry about this kind of stuff. So building a fantasy world is nice sometimes. You can probably see at this point I have indeed relied on decor to carry this build. I'm really hoping it works. I have play tested it as a restaurant you could visit, so it looks like it works fine. Outside of the usual Sims weirdness that tends to happen in restaurants, which unfortunately I can't help too much. I've noticed stuff like Sims not eating at their assigned tables or waiters not cleaning up, you know, the usual stuff. Packs I've ended up using are Eco Lifestyle, Discover University, Island Living, Get Famous, Seasons, Cats and Dogs, Get Together, Get to Work, Parenthood, Dine Out, Outdoor Retreat, Nifty Knitting, Laundry Day, and the free holiday pack. I have also used the debug objects, and move objects is on, so make sure you turn on move objects before you start placing stuff. And you don't have to turn on the debug object cheats to make sure that they show up in the games. I think that should be fine. I haven't had a problem with that before, at least. But there's no custom content. You will be able to find it in the gallery under Belledaisies. And if you're a tray file kind of person, it will be at my website on sims.blackdaisies.com. As usual, the links will be in the description, so please feel free to check them out. Anyway, I think that's it for me. I think it's a cute build. And I'll probably bring my Sims here for Love Day in my next Sims video so we can see how that ends up working out for us. If you like this build, let me know. In fact, if you have a favorite brunch spot for your Sims, by all means, you are welcome to share. If you like this kind of stuff, please do subscribe, tell your friends. I will be trying to release a video source at least once a week depending on my schedule. But I do hope life is treating you well these days. Enjoy the rest of the video, and thank you so much for coming by. Bye!